beginning of a new green year, I hope, a greener year. A long time ago, I don't know how many years ago, Bill Sinken, William R. Sinken, was well known in San Antonio as a leader, not always an environmental leader. He started out, he was born and raised in San Antonio. He went to Alamo College. He went to UTSA. He had a bank here, the Texas State Bank. He was the president of the Hemisphere. Went on to get interested in the environment, founded Solar San Antonio, was responsible for San Antonio's first solar farm, and eventually a center opened up on Main Street, and because of his reputation with the environment and what he had done with solar and with everything else that pertains to green building, they decided to open the center and to name it after him, in honor of him, William R. Sinken. And we are honored today to have the director of that building, of that project, as our guest.
Yes.
To start off the new year and tell us what you can do during 2020 to make 2021 the best year in the world following this year.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Meredith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Director of the William R. Sinken Eco Center. I don't know if you knew all that background on Bill. The Hemisphere thing was something I knew him pretty well, and worked with him quite a bit when he started it. The center opened up when?
So they broke ground on the center. It'll be 5 years ago in April. And the center opened its doors about 3 years ago, but it really wasn't fully staffed until about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
See, he passed away in after it opened.
Yes.
The year after.
Yes.
Because the first solar farm, which is called Bill Sinken, William R. I'm so used to calling him Bill.
Right.
The Centennial Center, and he was there for the opening. And he was 99.
Yes.
And the following year he was gone, which makes you think twice about your life.
It does. And we're grateful for all that he did for San Antonio and Texas and the environmental industry in general. So we're glad we had him as long as we did.
The center originally was intended to do what?
So it was written as a grant to open a community center that would sort of bridge San Antonio College and the surrounding neighborhoods, Tobin Hill and the surrounding neighborhoods near downtown, to talk about environmental sustainability. So that was the original goal of the center.
You had a lot of action and projects and a lot of volunteers, a lot of students. You had a community garden. You had a electric auto plug-in, and you kept sort of growing. Originally, how big was the center?
So the original footprint of the center was the building itself, which is about 3,000 square feet, and a little bit of landscaped area around. And the college has been really dedicated to the success of the center. So San Antonio College has really worked hard to expand. So after the building opened, they got some additional garden space, and then in the last 2 years, have also been able to acquire 2 more lots on that block. So now EcoCentro takes up essentially the entire section of that block.
The college, Alamo College, were they involved in the beginning?
Yes. So from day one, Alamo College's district, but specifically San Antonio College, were involved in the planning and the grant writing and the co-funding of the center. So what the grant didn't cover, the college covered in terms of building the center, acquiring the land, going through that process, and then also the first staff and continually. So like I am a San Antonio College employee, even though I'm the director of the center.
And then it expanded not only to be a more or less environmental education community center, but it inspired the inclusion of some environmental classes at the school.
We are working on that, yeah. So when I came to the center, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of local San Antonians and people who are born here, people who moved here, that we're one of the poorest cities in the nation. That while this city itself has very, in recent past, a wonderful track record, the mayor, transportation and capital improvements, build San Antonio green. There's a lot of amazing stuff happening here. But it is hard to talk to communities at large about environmental sustainability when they are trying to exist in a food desert without adequate transportation, with rising rents, with lack of access sometimes to good education or workforce development, or their houses are flooding on the regular, or they don't have air conditioning, right? There's so many things that challenges that families in San Antonio face. And I really said, I can't go into a community, this team cannot go into a community and talk about environmental sustainability. We have to talk about community sustainability. And environmental sustainability is a part of that, but so is environmental justice, so is environmental education, so is community education, so is community well-being and health. So suddenly our mission kind of went like this.
Well, and I noticed that Echo Water is your email address. And so water is an important part. And I read on the internet that a student, I've forgotten her name, I didn't copy it, that she worked in, created a water sustainability. Are you familiar with that? She had pictures and
probably it may have been Gracie.
Yeah.
Gracie's wonderful. She's at Texas State now, but we still try to own her. We still keep her with us when we can. EcoCentro has three main functions. We call them our pillars, right? The three things that we focus on. One is water resources, and the reason that we feel that's important is because when you address water, you typically address the landscape as well. And when you address the landscape, you address things like how humans use the landscape, transportation, and ultimately things like air quality. So water is kind of that canary in the coal mine. But rainwater collection is this much of what we do. So it is important. So that's one of our three pillars. One of our other pillars is green building. So we're very tied into U.S. Green Building Council, to the Texas chapter, the South Texas Regional chapter. We are great partners with several other organizations like Earth and Construction Initiative. So we're trying to change the way San Antonio builds buildings with our other partners who are doing it. But we're trying to do that by example with how San Antonio College starts to build and maintain buildings. And then the third pillar, the third thing that we do is urban food production, so urban agriculture. So we have a farm on the east side. We have several small urban farm plots on campus, and the college, one of our big goals in the next few years is to transform at least 75% of the campus landscape to either natural wildlife habitat, pollinator gardens, food production. So we've been putting in kitchen gardens, herb gardens, community gardens all over campus and all over town. So those are kind of the three things that we do. But the student that you're mentioning, Gracie, is in her whole cohort. They're all amazing students. We have a grant that really the founder of EcoCentro is a man named Stephen Lewis, and you probably know Stephen very well. And he was the one who wrote the grant and really got the center off the ground. And Stephen formed a partnership with Texas State University, which is still going strong to this day. And they have a grant that has been redone several times now. So this is, I think, the fourth year that the grant has happened. And it provides funding for students to do innovative work around
paid interns instead.
Exactly. So it's one of our.
I need to join that program.
Yeah, it's fabulous, right? It's a wonderful program, and so far all of the students who've participated have gone on to four-year colleges and have done really amazing things. So some of those students are really fabulous.
Okay, and as far as the community is concerned, you do a lot. I noticed that you have the month of January. There are some national holidays. There's the bean and the
Happy National Bean Day.
Yeah.
We between 2017 and the end of 2019, we hosted or participated in over 700 events. So 2017, we had over 400 events. So we have a lot happening at the center. We have different roadshow programs where we're out in the community. We do things with the college. We do things with we have almost 90 partners. So we always have things going on. But one of the things that we do just for fun is we track national holidays and sometimes international holidays as well that just have anything to do with kind of a sense of community or protecting the environment. So we publish those usually every other month and just say, hey, did you know, January 23rd is whatever it is. And so we had a...
Do you remember the ones for January?
I do not remember all of them off the top of my head, but there was National Bean Day. That was a good one. And then I think we had, there was a radon and nuclear power
right.
day that just recently passed. And so we'll, in our next newsletter, we'll have some more information about how the local organizations that you can get involved in.
And do you offer classes or...
So we do. We have a calendar of events, but we don't do it around those days. Those days are just fun things that we publish. Now, Earth Day, that's a different story.
Oh.
We say every day. So that section of our newsletter is called Every Day is Earth Day. And the idea is that we just try to find events or holidays that are happening where you can kind of celebrate what you're doing to support the environment. But Earth Day we do a whole week, and usually the week before and the week after of activities as well. So that is one that we take very seriously, obviously.
And exhibits, do you have regular exhibits that are open like every month, or?
We do. We trade them out quite frequently, although we've had an art exhibit up for almost a year because we've loved it so much we haven't taken it down. It's a local artist named Carrie By, and she did a fabulous series of photographs called What a Waste, and she tracks waste in San Antonio in the environment that came from Whataburger. So no disrespect to Whataburger, but it's very prevalent to just show where you think you get a drink and you throw it in the trash and where does it actually end up. So yeah, every month we try to showcase a local artist or artisan or a craftsman. So we have people who come and make soap and we'll sell their soap, or jewelers or knitters or different artists. So we usually have somebody like that at the center. Sometimes it'll be someone who is sort of around green building, right? So there was a great company that makes really affordable attic fans that are solar powered. So we had them set up as a demonstration in the lobby.
And how do people know when it is?
So we just have something going on all the time, and it will usually tell you in our newsletter and on our Facebook when those things are happening. And then our website, which is about to come back online, it's been revamped. We're working on it, so you can usually check our website and it'll tell you who's there for the month or the quarter or however long they're going to be there.
Okay, you had one of the first free electric auto charging stations in the city, right?
We do. We still do. Although it's closed at the moment, but it'll be open any day.
Well, and we've got a chart showing the electric charging, the new locations, which are in and around the.
Yes. So because we had to close our parking lot, we are capturing stormwater in our parking lot and channeling it underground to a rain garden and a low impact design feature that filter pollutants out of the water and ultimately return it to the aquifer. So instead of being a liability of having a bunch of puddles in our parking lot, we're giving that water back to the aquifer. So while that construction is being completed, we've had to fence off the parking lot, and so no charging stations. So the information that that you have shows you if you can't charge at Eco right now, where are some nearby.
It's going to come back.
We'll be back online before the end of January.
To the center? Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're just temporarily closed while we're renovating the parking lot.
That was going to be for a long...
Oh, no. We closed the parking lot in November, and it'll be back open in January. It's been a...
And the address of the... And we have a chart that shows that all of your information, but the address is...
Our address is 1802 North Main. And we're at the corner of Main and Locust, just across the street from San Antonio College.
And if you have an electric car, and I would say wait until the mid to the end of January, they have the charging station right there, and it's still free?
It's a charge point station, so if you have a charge point account, so it's very inexpensive and we don't charge a fee. So a lot of the stations around town, you have to pay to be able to use the station. So this, you just literally pay for the electricity that you use. That's it. And on most days, on sunny, which are most days in Texas, on sunny days, our 4 charging stations are solar powered. So that's a lot of fun. So you can know that you're charging but not emitting as much carbon dioxide as you might be otherwise.
And then also you offer some services to some commercial and nonprofits. You did a wildlife
The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center.
Rehabilitation Rescue Center.
Right, which if you don't know about them, look them up. They're fabulous. So they just such a great service to the community to help
And
rehabilitate
you did
wildlife.
a rain collection system for them.
Yeah, so we have we launched it this fall. It's still very new, but one of the things that we do is sort of a sustainability consulting and auditing service. And when we can do it for free, we do. When we charge very, very little, just enough to cover our staff time and our expenses. So we're great nonprofit rates. And we help homeowners, small businesses, and we're scaling up to medium and larger scale businesses who want to look at everything from capturing rainwater on their property to managing stormwater to green building to their process and supply chains. It's like we're even working with some coffee shops and a local hotel to help them sort of green the way that they do business, right? So
with the wildlife center, was that water then that that takes care of the animals?
Yeah, they'll use it for landscaping and for watering animals and hopefully eventually maybe for some interior building use as well.
Very good. And then you did a project for Hope House Ministries,
Yes.
which is on Cherry Street. And I think that used to be a church, or it still is a church.
Yeah, they reached out to us. We did about 40 different consults on gardens last year. A lot of them were at schools. So we support, in partnership with Green Spaces Alliance, we support dozens of school gardens as well, but also different church and ministry gardens. And the idea is to teach people how to grow their own food and to appreciate their own food. And if you've grown up or you live in a food desert, you might not see a fresh tomato on the plant or on the vine very often. But if it's the first thing that you see and you get to go and taste it, sometimes it can brighten your day. Sometimes it can lead you to want to learn more about health and nutrition or many other things. So that's one of the gardens that we helped consult on.
And then there's a townhouse project, and they have many projects, but the Chateau de Jaune,
Yes.
which is supposedly relates to some 1968, an early 1800s French.
It is beautiful. If you've never been there, their apartments are beautiful, and they've made a big commitment to wanting to have a more sustainable grounds. So our team, especially Jason and Jess, who are our conservation gurus, have gone and spent a lot of time out there at the chateaus, looking at everything from rainwater harvesting collection to more appropriate landscaping to maybe putting in some fruit orchards. I mean, they're doing all kinds of cool stuff over there.
Yeah, the photo of the condos that I found, they really are fine. And then there's another group that you're working with, ATK. It's
Atomka.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Francisco Tavira is a local architect in town, very talented. He's from Mexico. And he had this idea that he really wanted to build small, sustainable, a tiny step up from a tiny house, but very small, could be mobile, could be modular, affordable homes, right? So you can, if you want to make a home out of shipping containers now, they're not terribly energy efficient, and it seems like a good low-cost way to go, but it actually can be quite expensive. So Francisco has really worked on how to make these very small, they're usually 20-foot shipping containers, how to make them into complete units that have rooftop gardens, rainwater harvesting, small chicken coops that literally come off the side, ways to compost your waste, and how to be really energy efficient. And so we've been trying to support him in that initiative. And the first home will be done relatively soon, hopefully in time for Earth Day this April, and we'll be showcasing it at different places around town.
And where is it located?
Right now it's being developed. It's at Francisco's shop, but we'll...
So they're building it in a factory?
Well, I mean, he's literally building it really
Which
in
is a good way
in
to
his
build
yard,
houses,
right?
actually.
Yeah, it is, and that's the goal, is to have prefab or kits that could be used. But we'll probably host it for a while at Eco. It'll likely be at Woodlawn Lake Park for Earth Day, and then hopefully a couple of other events around town. We'll let everybody know, but we're excited to get Francisco's home out there.
Have a tour?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Because there's There's the high school in itself was 1604.
Yes, the
It has a
Construction
that does
Academy.
construct
And they build
tiny homes.
fabulous tiny homes. They do.
They really are. It's amazing what they fit into a tiny home. The students really have some good ideas.
Yes. Are you watching, Dad? I'm trying to tell you, got to buy one of these. They're really cool.
Okay. In your newsletter that I received, which prompted me to call you, you had listed some eco-friendly resolutions for 2020. Started out with bring your own shopping bag.
Yes, small changes have big impacts. And we always tell people you have to think about whether it's composting or building a new home or just making changes in your life. You don't have to make radical changes all at once. You can take one small step, right? And that step might motivate you to take another step, might motivate someone else to take another step. So the sort of New Year's resolutions that we posted, a lot of them are very small, but bringing your own shopping bag is a really substantial thing that you can do.
In many places, I know my daughter lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and there you
have to.
There's no quite. San Antonians are pretty independent, and they want to do what they want to. They want to drink their beer and get their plastic shopping bags. And,
Right.
it's going to be a little more difficult to get them to do it. And so then you want one of the things is cook from scratch, which I'm sure a lot of people don't even think about. If you use a lot of processed, which I'm afraid sometimes
We
I
all
do.
do from time
Yeah,
to time.
Yeah, I start that as a beginning, then I add my own touches. But that makes a difference.
It does. It makes a difference on so many levels. You think about a can of beans that you buy, right? That can of beans may be grown on the other side of the country. It may be grown on the other side of the continent. It may not even be grown on this continent. And it gets harvested, it gets cooked, it gets packaged, it gets transport. So by the time you get this can of beans, it has a huge carbon footprint, right? It's let out all kinds of pollution and emission. The can had to be mined, right? Like all these different things. When you look at the supply chain, there are probably 30 different steps.
Picture, not just the
right?
can,
Exactly. Not
but the
just you
process
opening
that
the
goes to
can of
get
beans,
to
but
you.
everything that went before then to get there. And then, you know, if you walked out to your garden, and I'm not saying everybody has to have a huge functional garden, but if you walked out to your garden or you took a short drive to your local farmer's market, you could get those same beans, but they haven't traveled very far. They haven't been sprayed with pesticides. They're probably being farmed on a smaller urban lot, right? That is not changed the local landscape, and they're fresher and they taste better and they're better for you. And so we know you can't do that all the time, but like for my family, we commit to cooking a few meals a week at home together, and it's also a great way to spend time together and to share food with our neighbors. So it's a great. You don't have to do it every day, not for every meal, but if you can make one of your resolutions.
Start out small. And eating organic. Organic is without pesticides, and the price is higher. Does it cost more to grow?
So it's hard to compete, right? Eventually, organic produce hopefully will be on the same level. You know, hopefully we'll do things differently. Typically what happens, right? Large-scale organic farming is not necessarily any better than ready-made traditional organic farm or non-organic farming. Sorry. Part of what's important about organic is it's regenerative, right? They're concerned about the outputs to the air, right? To water pollution, to making sure that the land is regenerative and that the land is helping take care of us as well as us taking care of it. And so that does cost more, right? It takes more time. It takes different inputs. And oftentimes when you buy organic, you are buying local, right? And so even though it doesn't make a lot of sense when you first look at it that it would be more expensive, that farmer is literally growing on that small plot of land, and he is literally trying to feed his family, and that money is literally he or she.
That's it. It helps to provide an income for somebody.
Yeah, and someone who then spends those dollars locally in our community as well. And so yes, you can't always buy organic, and there's a difference between buying organic Cheerios and supporting a local farmer, even if their produce is not organic. So like at EcoCentro, everything that we grow and produce is done organically. We don't have our certification, right, because we're still working on it. It takes time. But we can safely say that we're very proud that when we hand you something, we know that it's very low in chemicals. It's been grown in a way that's beneficial to the environment. So yes, it might cost a little bit more than something else, but it's also worth more and has more benefits.
And then another is eat better with less meat. That's obvious. To avoid fast fashion, and that means having fashion that come from overseas and supporting your local industry.
Sure, or even, you know, even if it comes from overseas, I'm not saying don't buy those beautiful Italian leather boots, but buy the ones that are going to last you for 10 years, not the ones you're going to throw away in a year because they fell apart, right? So we've gotten in the habit of buying things that are very cheaply manufactured, and that's a whole nother story, right? Again, we have the carbon footprint, but we also have the social justice footprint that goes with that, right? Like, did somebody get paid 30 cents an hour working 18 hours a day to make that dress for you? Then maybe it really is worth more than $19.95. But we also put a lot of fashion into the landfill, right? A huge portion of what's thrown away every year is clothing.
That's what I ought to do with mine instead of keep stuffing it in the closet.
Right? So yeah, so we say, we call it slow fashion or local fashion, but buy local, buy quality, and maybe buy a little bit less of it.
Okay, and some of the other resolutions were chemical-free cosmetics. Bring your own water bottle instead of...
Yes, yes. That's a really easy thing to get in the habit. And you know what I find? When you bring your own cup or your own water bottle, you drink more water, and that's better for you too.
Dry your laundry outside, walk, bike, or bus, and detox your home.
Yes. And if you have questions about those, let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you about them.
See that? Okay, now what we have is we have the complete information on the William R. Sinkin Eco Center at San Antonio College, which is part of the Alamo College group. And look at it. You can make an appointment to go through the center, and you can contact them. They have tours and meeting grounds. So this, all the information, grab your pen, hurry up, and jot this down so you can give them a call. And maybe meet Meredith, who's wonderful to talk with.
Thank you.
And come back next month in 2020 February. Have a happy Green Week.